Every content coach you're following right now are telling you the exact same thing. They're telling you to be more authentic, be more raw, be more real. And while at face value, it sounds like great advice, the people that are actually following that advice are the people that are making the least amount of money. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why authenticity actually became the worst content strategy in 2026 and why, although you're being very authentic, raw and vulnerable, your content is actually not converting. And I'm going to show you the actual way to do it, the actual way to make content, the real way to make authentic content that prints leads and prints money. Now, let's first and foremost start the video where this whole thing came from about being really, really authentic. Because you see, people used to sit down in their guru podcast rooms with all the LED lights in the back, and they used to just really, really engineer videos. And the industry kind of got sick of that around 2023. 2023, 2024. People got really sick of those videos because people were just scripting them out. They were looking at a typewriter and they were just spitting random nonsense, right? Here's the thing though. Then the market had a switch. The market switched to authentic, raw, vulnerable content. And the people that came out with that type of content, specifically that I think of, is Gary Vee. And he tells you to just document your journey, say whatever's on your mind, and say anything. Although there's an element of, yes, he's definitely correct. What it's allowed people to do now is become too comfortable, too vulnerable. And the problem with being vulnerable, especially as a coach, remember, you're an authority. You're trying to teach somebody to be better at something, to make more money, to become fitter, to become healthy, whatever it is, right? Now here's a problem. If you are vulnerable and you're making peer level based content where you're showing people that you struggle with the same problem as them, how are you the authority? How can you be perceived as the one that can solve the problem? This is the issue, right? See, authenticity and vulnerability has been taken the wrong way. The best way to actually be vulnerable is not to be vulnerable in a topic or problem that your audience is vulnerable with. The better way is to show them problems that they can't reach, the problems that levels above where they're currently at the moment. For example, if I have a Lamborghini and I speak about my vulnerability and my problems with owning a Lamborghini. Yes, there are problems, and yes, I'm being vulnerable, but I'm being vulnerable at an authoritative position. I'm being vulnerable at a level these guys simply can't afford. And this is where vulnerability is important. You don't want to be vulnerable about something that's on the same level as them. That's number one. Number two is rawness. Yes, you're supposed to be raw, but most people have taken to the level where they're just spewing complete nonsense, right? They're making videos that's nothing to do with their character, so that all the guys think that being raw means you just be funny. But the problem is if you're not a funny guy and you don't have humor, then it means absolutely nothing to be a humorous type of a guy. You don't want to put on that persona. You want to stick with your identity. Remember, a personal brand is personal. So it means it needs to stay within the guidelines of your identity. I'm not a really humorous person, right? I don't, there's a lot more funnier people than me. In fact, I would like to think that I'm quite serious. And this is the exact tone, and this is the exact mood, and this is the exact kind of aura and energy that I exude in my content. Going back to my point, the issue with raw content is people are now sitting in their bed and they're recording, right? They're recording themselves in bed, speaking nonsense. And even if it's value, people are not listening to you anymore. Here's the problem. Before, we used to have something that was called the trust recession, where people would consume your content, but they found it really, really difficult to trust you. But now we have something called the attention recession, where people will actually scroll, and because they've just gotten so much dopamine from content and their brain structure has essentially changed, right, from doom scrolling, these people struggle with even giving you attention. And the only piece of content that they actually give real attention to is things that really strike, or people that seem incredibly authoritative. And you do this through your perception signals, right? The things you wear, the settings that you're in, how you speak, your tone, right? You do this through your perception. I want you to think about something right now. What does authenticity mean? Authenticity means, right, and rawness and being vulnerable, these three words that everyone tells you to use, right, when you're creating content. Being authentic and being raw means that you're making a piece of content and there's necessarily no engineering to the piece of content, right? But everyone is engineering authentic videos and everyone's engineering raw videos. So how are they authentic? They're still making hooks. They're still scripting the videos. They still know exactly what points, and they know exactly how to get, the payoff at the end of the video. They're making sure they're engineering the re-hooks, etc. So how is it actually authentic? How is it raw? And here's the thing as well, is it's like most of these authentic or raw videos have become a format that everyone is also making those videos as well. So how is it now authentic? How is it raw? There's nothing raw or authentic about these type of videos. Meaning that now the audience and the market in general has become exhausted from these videos. They just genuinely can't handle these videos. Now here's the thing. I can sit down here and speak about why this format is bad, and you're gonna get nothing out of it. So I'm gonna give you the exact way to actually make proper authentic content. Content where when people watch, you don't even need to have a great hook. People will just watch and engage because you look like the authority and you actually look genuine and you look like you know what you're talking about. And the best way to do this, guys, is documented indirect content, meaning that you document your day-to-day life, the way you deal with your clients, the way you deal with your friends, the way you deal on your sales calls, your coaching calls, the way as you travel, the things that you do, you document that. But indirectly, you're giving value. So let's say I have my friend right here, for example, and I'm giving him advice. What's happening is the camera's following you as a third person. And this is a trick that the movies do. Why do we tend to fall in love with movie heroes? Is because the hero is not necessarily speaking directly to us, but they seem to have a vision, and we are able to join their story from A to Z and follow what the hero does in the villains that he has to fight, in the battles that he has to fight. And that's what you want to do. You want to turn your story into a hero story as well. You want to turn your life into a movie. And as you give people value around you, and as you're teaching your clients, etc., and you're recording all of that, you're giving people indirectly value as well. Because here's the thing, most people don't actually like being spoken at. Like, you don't necessarily like people telling you, do this, here's the best 10 hooks, do this, do that. People appreciate indirect value, where I'm speaking to somebody else, but you're picking up the value. You're picking up the value without me telling you directly. This is the number one best piece of content that you can make. Is it difficult to make? 100%. You're going to need to invest into videographers. You're going to actually need to have an interesting life. But that's the thing that's making the top content creators stand out right now. And if you want to stand out, this is what you need to get good at. Because only truly then, when you're speaking indirectly to other people, is when you'll actually be truly genuine and you'll be truly raw and you'll truly be authentic. You won't be performing for the camera anymore.